Hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Podcast, the official podcast of the Tattoo Improvement Network, where we talk exclusively about TV shows and occasionally our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. No, that's not true.
What?
We've actually never had that conversation. But, sometimes we'll talk about things that are like not related to tattoos. Definitely not
On
Jesus. Here. But,
yeah, that we're real people, and
we like things other than tattoos.
Comics. We've never talked about comics.
We did a comic episode with you
true,
and Dean Zachary.
Yeah, well, I mean, comics, like what's happening in comics.
Oh yeah. No,
like
we haven't talked
Marvel,
about that. I bet there are
storylines.
tons of podcasts on that subject, though, aren't there?
There are. I follow a few of them. Yes.
Yeah. We probably wouldn't hold a candle to a lot of the best
No,
ones.
I don't think we'd be able to. I wouldn't be able to.
Well, if you can't, then I definitely
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Well,
we can talk about some old storylines, but anyway.
David can jump in on that stuff. He loves old storylines. But yeah, no, let's stick to tattoos because it's what I know and it's what you have been pushed into talking about.
Well, I understand a little about art, so that I hear that tattoo involves that.
Yeah, on occasion. It does. So go to all the social medias and keep up with us. Go to tattooimprovement.com and sign up for our mailing list, and you'll find out what we're doing and why we're doing it and where we'll be. And if we're somewhere near you, then show up there, pay the admission fee, find our booth, and say, hey, I know you guys from your show. And then there's a 90% chance that we'll just put you on the show.
Wow.
We do that because,
cool.
half the time we can't find anybody to talk to because nobody knows us.
So what is your next convention? Do you have one?
What is our next convention? Do we know? Maybe Austin in January? Austin in January. We haven't. We do that one every year. We may be, or we are headed to podcast with Guy Aitchison. I don't know if you know him, but he is a very well-known tattooer, and we haven't pinned down a date yet, but it's sometime soon. And we have a few other things going. But for today, I do want to talk about something in particular, and I'm going to try my best not to just vent and be an ass. I have had a few beers, so I might be an ass, but I don't intend to. I want to. So we've been doing this for 3.5 years, and then we've got pretty decent YouTube following. We have a lot of views now. And I know that with that comes a lot of supporters and comes a lot of detractors.
Trolls. Chicks?
No chicks.
Okay.
No, it's all dudes. It's just us and a bunch of dudes. And so we did this podcast for at least 2 years before we started the Fireside Technique, would you say? Because we have 120 episodes of the podcast and only 20-something episodes of the Technique. So we started Fireside Technique, and it's taken off. It's more popular than this show. And we started with the idea that we were just going to start a dialogue, start a conversation with other artists and kind of bounce ideas back and forth. Tattooing has traditionally been a pretty closed network. A lot of people, whenever I got into tattooing in the mid-90s, bad information was sometimes intentionally spread. There weren't a lot of good artists in it, and it was a closed network because there were a lot of people that were scared of people coming in that were better than them. That's my opinion on it. I feel like that people didn't want tattooing to progress. They didn't want it to get better. They liked the way that it worked. They couldn't draw. They didn't care to learn how to draw. They halfway learned the technique, but it really didn't matter if they knew the technique because they never saw the person again. So that's all evolved. But there's still some of those sons of bitches around, and they're tracking us down. And they hate the idea that we're giving away information.
Those guys have discovered the internet.
They've discovered the internet. They use it mostly for porn. Yeah, they use it mostly for porn and then also to bitch about us. Right. But there's one episode that we did in particular that happens to be our most popular episode, and it was about building up line weights. I just gave myself some notes here in case I forgot what I was going to talk about. They were about building up line weights. And pretty simple, and nothing that was life-changing. It was just... It was hey, here are 3 simple ways to get your lines a little thicker in your tattoos or to have cleaner lines or to whatever. 5-minute episode. It has, maybe 100,000 views or so now. Over 100,000 views. Pretty popular. And so we've gotten, particularly on that episode, a lot of pushback from people that are hey, stop doing this. We want people to get traditional apprenticeships and not learn how to tattoo on YouTube, which I completely understand. I mean, there's a lot of risk in tattooing, right? So me teaching someone how to line a tattoo on YouTube is risky because they might order some rusty needles, dip them in the toilet, and then tattoo their friends with them.
Yeah, they could.
They could. Or they might.
I feel like that's not likely.
Yeah, well, or they might order, maybe they haven't been through a traditional apprenticeship and they order 3 needle cartridges and they just use the same 3 over and over on dozens of people. Any number of things can happen. I do understand that. So I thought that instead of responding to every one of these people that have had an issue, that we just do an episode, and you as a non-tattooer, I could just throw ideas out and you can let me know if that makes any sense to you.
All right.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me start with traditionally the way that we learn to tattoo is we go through apprenticeships, and depending on it's state to state, region to region, but depending on how your state licenses, you might serve a 1-year apprenticeship under a licensed artist. You might take a bloodborne pathogens test at your local health department, and you get an apprenticeship license, and you work for 1 year under a licensed artist. Now, whatever made that art, what did that artist do to become licensed? Just the same thing that you did to become licensed. So it has no bearing. Their artistic skill has no bearing on whether or not they're qualified to train you to tattoo. But it's basically just a big scheme not a big scheme because it keeps people from getting diseases. But the health department has no fucking idea what they're doing. They're pathetic in this city and in every other one that I've been in. They don't do a good job. But the way that it's always worked is that you work for a year, 2 years, 3 years under a licensed artist. Then you get your artist license, and then you can take on your own apprentice and screw up their life too if you want. Make them scrub toilets or whatever. Drive a van. They could do any number of things. So all of these people that want that are so gung ho on traditional apprenticeships, I think sometimes they neglect to think about how flawed the apprenticeship system is. It does not work. It's never worked. Never in the history of apprenticeship. There are some good apprenticeships out there, but by no means is there any kind of control over the apprenticeship system in this country or anywhere in the world that you can say, like, all right, if you go through these steps, you're going to be an accomplished artist by the end of your apprenticeship. That's why some apprentices are some 3-year artists are $300 an hour, and some 3-year artists are mopping the floors at Walmart and tattooing for free on the weekends, because there's no there's nothing there's no standard, right, with apprenticeships. To give an example, my apprenticeship was driving a shuttle from our tattoo shop to a Navy base and bringing Navy kids back and forth, 18, 19-year-old Navy kids, and then they would sit there all day, and there was a bar next door, and they would sit at the bar and wait on their turn to get tattooed, and then I'd drive all their drunk asses back at the end of the night. That's how I learned to tattoo, was that way. That was my teaching. I met someone in Portland just a couple of weeks ago, and they learned to tattoo by washing the owner's car and the customer's cars and the other artist's cars for several months. It's almost like this military kind of thing where it's like you got to earn your stripes. It's like a what? Yeah, it's like a fraternity kind of thing or whatever. It has nothing to do with trying to get people to become better artists. So it's not. And other artists are. Yeah, there are definitely good artists out there that work hard with their apprentices, and they want to grow their shops, and they grow their shops by educating artists. Yeah, definitely there are great apprenticeships out there, but it's a flawed system in my mind.
There's no standard.
There's no standard. A lot of artists are just put in a chair and told to work. I can't tell you how many artists I've come across that say the person that's apprenticing them is only 2 years in and has opened their own shop. And there's one artist that's 2 years in, and there are 3 artists that are in an apprenticeship. There's no way for that to work, right? So, and on top of, so is teaching on YouTube any better, I guess is the question. And there are a ton of, sorry, I know you're about to say something, but listen, there are a ton of bad videos on YouTube, bad tattoo videos, kitchen tattoo videos. So my thought on this, as we've moved through this for 3+ years, is we're educated. We work hard to be good at tattoos. Why don't we offset some of this stuff by just giving little nuggets, right? Just like throwing out, and this is, in my mind, kind of a smart show. We don't have just a bunch of idiots that don't want to get better, that are content just to sit in their kitchens and tattoo their buddies and put, crap on people for the rest of their lives. I think that we approach things from an artist standpoint. And I feel like that's what the internet needs, because people learn online anyways. You're not going to stop people from learning to do the things they want to do online, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of YouTube. We've tapped into this idea that is fundamental to human learning, and that's watch someone do it. You can pick up some things. It's right. Something that's very ancient, and YouTube is just expanding it to the world.
They've made it very easy to search and find someone that's doing exactly what you learn how to do.
So, I mean, we're going to continue to use it. I think it's too useful for that to despair. So
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that there's no way that people aren't going to go to YouTube or some online service and look for solutions to a problem that they have.
Right.
And if there are terrible solutions out there, those are the ones they're going to use. If there are smart solutions out there, hopefully more people than not recognize that it's a smart solution and apply it. Now, that said, if you go back through all of our videos, you'll find that we constantly encourage people to get apprenticeships. Even though it's a flawed system, it's still, unfortunately, the best system that we have. I feel like digital technology will take that over. I think that it will go away. We're going to do everything we can to make sure it goes away, and there are a lot of better artists than me that are working towards the same thing. And I think that I used the example in Portland a few weeks ago. I feel like if a handful of entrepreneurs can put iPads in the hands of kids in third world parts of Africa and implement an education system where they couldn't possibly build schools and pay teachers, but they can afford $500 for an iPad per kid or per however many kids and teach kids fundamental learning. Well, what am I trying to say?
Any kind of learning.
Yeah. Then we can do it with artists. I mean,
sure.
I think that that's the way it will go and the way it should go. But here's the thing: we've still, up to now, we've tried to encourage people to find good artists around them, and try to get their apprenticeship, or at the very least, pick their brains. I've never once said, hey, this should substitute you learning how to pull a line from an actual person that's watching you pull a line, right? My 3-minute video is not going to solve your problem. It might point you in the right direction, but it's not going to solve your problem, because that's not your only problem. There's a lot of problems to learn how to tattoo, just like learning how to paint. Teaching me how to varnish my painting isn't going to make me a better painter.
Right. You got to just practice yourself.
You gotta practice. You gotta find people.
Hands-on is always valuable.
Yeah.
Seeking out someone that and having them show you techniques in person is invaluable.
Yeah, I think so. I think that that'll always be a part of it. And I never have intended for any video that we put out to substitute learning from someone that knows what they're doing. When we first started doing this, when we first started the technique episodes, you'll notice none of them were technical problems we were solving. It was how to map to the body, what your artist station should look like if you're a tattoo collector, to make sure that they're practicing, that they're being sterile and they're practicing, they're implementing a safe environment or whatever. So for the longest time, we didn't give any technical tattooing advice. It was only based on the feedback of our viewers, who luckily for us are really engaged. And we kept hearing over and over, I've been through an apprenticeship. I've been tattooing 3 years. I'm in an apprenticeship right now. I live in a small town. The person that I'm learning from doesn't draw well. No one in my shop is good. I have 3 kids. I can't move to a better town. Please help me. This is my work. Help me with this, help me with that. And I realized by and large that was our audience. These were professionally trained artists. They weren't scratchers. They were doing their best to get better. And so that's why I decided, okay, let's put out a lining video. Let's put out a how to get a smooth color blend video. Let's put out a video on doing black shading if you're going to add color on top of it, and how you might handle that differently than doing a full grayscale tattoo. Just little tips and tricks. It doesn't teach people how to tattoo, but for people that have already been through an apprenticeship from an artist or from under someone that maybe was subpar, it gives them a little boost. It gives them a little something to plug in. And that was really how it was intended. And then all these comments started rolling in, and not all these comments. Most of them are supportive.
Yeah, how many?
I can think of 3 or 4 that have been really, really derogatory.
Okay, well, 3 out of what?
Oh, we're talking about over 100,000 views.
Well, okay.
So it's not a lot.
You have to look at it in that perspective.
Yeah, I just feel like every time it comes in, and some of them are really well worded, and they say, "Hey, with all due respect, I see what you're doing. I don't like it." And they'll lay out their reasoning for why, and that's why I thought this episode was a good idea, so I didn't have to come out and like defend myself in every single comment. Some of them, on the other hand, have been really, if you started your comment with, "Hey, your tattoo machine looks like a dildo," or something like that. I think that in that case, you've already lost the battle before you even started, because anyone with any sense is going to go, "Wow, that person can't form a thought. They just shit right there on the screen and didn't say anything significant."
Well, I feel okay. Can I say something?
Yeah,
I feel like we're addressing 2 different issues here. One is the apprenticeship problem, which you've already said is flawed, but it's the system we got, or tattooers have, and they got to go through it.
Yeah.
And that can be addressed, but you're on the other issue. You're addressing art, how to hone your technique, and that's the realm you're staying in. You've never approached on the other one. Except to say, make sure you do your apprenticeship. There are things you need to learn hands-on.
Yeah.
So I think there's,
Yeah.
You've never tried to blend the two, really.
We haven't, but there are some technique episodes that address a specific technical problem, and that seems to be where people are having issues. So like how to build up a line weight, and I'm actually tattooing on the spot, and I'm saying, and that's something you might actually teach someone in a traditional apprenticeship, and it's not necessarily just art related. My thought on that, though, was like we're online content providers, just like anyone else. Just like anyone that you look up online to solve a problem, we're just like them, and we're competing for your attention. We're trading digital information for your attention. And the easiest way to get that attention is to solve a very specific problem, because people dial in to find a very specific problem. They don't want to sit and watch an hour-long podcast about our theories on getting good line work. They want to watch a 3-minute video of someone putting in good line work and saying, "What am I doing wrong?" All right. So the thing is, that's never that person's only problem. And what's been proven over and over and over by way smarter digital marketers than me is that if you solve a very specific problem for someone, it helps them to realize, wow, I have more problems, and they're more likely to come back to you and listen to what you have to say. So an example that I've used before is if someone's online and they want to lose 30 pounds before their high school reunion in 6 months, they don't want to watch an hour-long podcast about diet and exercise. What they want is someone in 2 minutes or less to say, "Okay, when you're in line at Krispy Kreme, this is the best thing to order to lose 30 pounds.
You should turn around and leave the store."
Right, yeah. But they want like a very specific problem, a solution to their very specific problem. Obviously, you can't tell them what to order at Krispy Kreme to lose 30 pounds, but that's the only in that you have with people.
Right.
And so that was my thought process whenever I said, "I'm going to help you solve a problem of lining," or "I'm going to help you solve a problem of color blends." It's like, the idea is that they see that and they say, "Wow, that wasn't I appreciate what you tried to do right there, but that just opened up 10 more problems that I have." And they're more likely to come to me for solutions to those problems, and then they're more likely to listen to the solutions that they actually need, which is, "Hey, maybe you should put a portfolio of drawings out there, quit tattooing out of your kitchen, find someone in town that actually tattoos well, get a tattoo by them, befriend them, get in for an apprenticeship." You can't plug all that in at once. You have to give them a nugget first to grab their attention. Don't you think?
Yes, and you've done that.
That's what we're trying to do, I think.
Well, I think you're successful.
Well, thank you.
But I don't think there's nothing in that implies the apprenticeship system should be thrown out or anything. I mean,
Yeah. No,
you're working through, you're encouraging both parts of it.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're trying to encourage people to explore art. I think we're trying to get people interested in tattooing. And I feel like sometimes on the surface, for people that don't feel like watching and learning what our channel is about, I feel like you can watch a video and say, what the fuck are you doing? You're giving away tattoo information, and they're going to be destroying people's skin and spreading disease and whatever else. But that's why I wanted to do this show, that if you can step back and take a longer term approach to this thing, which is what we're doing. We hope to be here in 20 or 30 years. I'm not doing this for a little while. I mean, this is it. I mean, I think this is what we do. We don't encourage scratchers. We try our best to, if you guys can't, it's like I'm talking to nobody. Sean needs a microphone. Every time I listen to these podcasts and I respond to someone, it's like, man, it sounds like I just pulled that out of my ass and didn't.
Well, it seems to me most of your audience are people that you've described as been through apprenticeship and just want to get better.
Yeah.
So they're beyond this period where, they're impressionable enough that they're just going to go scratch people.
Yeah.
They're already in a space where they've gone through the whole motions, gotten an apprenticeship, but now they're looking to be better artists.
That's what I think the majority of them are. Now, with the number of views that some of those videos have, I know there's no doubt that we've spread information to people that are not going about it the right way, and that's just something that's going to happen. I mean, you put information out online, I'm sure it's going to happen, but I think if you're taking a long-term approach and you're trying to I don't know, improve your art or improve your trade over a long period of time, I feel like this is the best way right now at this point in time for us to do it. And I know we're not going to change everyone's minds. I don't really care if we change everyone's minds. If you think if people are going to bash what we do, I understand that.
We have 12,000 people that respect what we're doing.
But there are a lot of people that get a lot of value out of it. And, I'd love to, I wish I had done a little more research on this episode, but I know there are several comments that I've gotten, emails that I've gotten of people that were tattooing, started following us, probably watched one of those technique episodes and got involved with what we're doing, and have quit tattooing and have sought out an apprenticeship and have realized, like, wow, I'm not going to get good at this just scratching around on my buddies at home. If I'm going to take this seriously, then these are the steps to do it. So I feel like for the most part, we've helped apprentices or young tattooers that were in bad situations, and we've encouraged people that were not going about it the right way to go about it the right way. Because the show is put together in a smart way, we talked to a lot of smart artists. We've talked to a lot of people about how they got into tattooing. A lot of them have gotten into it through being self-taught and realized what.
Some of them that have apprenticeships talk about how shitty their apprenticeship was.
Yeah. Most everyone that we talked to that went through apprenticeships talk about how terrible they were, and it is. It's flawed. It's a jacked up system, and I just moved to a private studio, a year ago now, and we're required to get inspections quarterly. I have never received an inspection. I've never received a phone call. I've never received my license or my shop license. I paid for everything. I did all the paperwork. I got the initial inspection to get my space approved, and the health department pocketed that money and have not done a single thing. They've never shown up to look and see if I'm working in a sterile environment, if I own an autoclave, if I require an autoclave. And of course, we're in Shelby County, Tennessee, which is, not known for its
government efficiency.
Exactly.
Right.
But
I don't want to get any.
No, we'll leave it at that. But we're not the only ones that are that way. And people that are clinging to this idea that an apprenticeship is the be-all, end-all in the way that everyone should learn to tattoo, you're just wrong. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. You're just fucking wrong. It's not.
Well,
it's not
let
the
me
best
ask
way.
you: is there any attempt to make it standard nationwide or anything like that?
There are pockets there, and there are different. There's the APT, the Alliance of Professional Tattooers. Guy Etchison's tattoo education. He's got he's not necessarily trying to apprentice artists this way, but he's really putting out some incredible information on a subscription base. There are people around that are offering great tools, but for the most part, they're all aimed towards people that are already licensed. And I feel like what we need is a uniform way to license people. The problem is, I don't know who agrees on what that should entail. The most important thing is that we're not spreading disease, right?
Oh, yeah.
The second most important thing is that we're putting in solid tattoos that last a long time and look good on people. But, when you get to that point, that's kind of the customer's responsibility, right?
Sure.
I mean, there's information out there. People know what good tattoos and bad tattoos look like. And there'll always be, in my mind, a group of people or some percentage of the population that doesn't care about quality. They care about free or cheap tattoos, and they can look like crap, and they're fine with that. They like janky punk rock tattoos. That'll always be around. So really what it comes down to is we're trying to keep from spreading disease.
I think in terms of, well, that is sort of already a standard in terms of the health department. I mean, you have to.
But I just told you
get
about
all
my
that
health department
inspection.
experience. They haven't shown up.
Well, you went through all the
But I mean, how
bells
many
and
times-
whistles to it's the ball's in their court. Maybe you're just on a list and
I'm on a list of people that are like, you don't fuck with that guy.
right.
Don't leave him alone. I hope so. I should have paid extra for that list.
Well, that's the next step. You have to start your institute for tattooing.
And there are tattoo schools coming about and things like that. And in my mind, we need to focus. I feel like it's time for a lot of the closed-mindedness that was part of tattooing whenever I got into it. It was not an art-focused, medium at that point. It was a trade or skill-focused thing, and I'm glad to see that part of it go away. And I know that there's a certain amount of like, I don't know, people love the. It's kind of sexy to think back to like traditional Americana or like some, people tattooing and when dipping their needles in a Listerine bucket and, sailors are passing by and all. I understand that that people look back to that time fondly, but I think it's time for a lot of that to go away. I'm ready to be considered with fine artists. I mean, we interview a lot of fine artists. I paint with people like you and the people that come to our painting nights. We go to the Portrait Society of America. We've podcasted with some of the most accomplished oil painters, watercolor painters around. And I'm ready for tattooers to be considered that way. And if that means getting rid of this old guard that never learned how to draw and doesn't give a shit and sabotages everyone that comes in their shop, and then good, fuck them. Go away. You're not any good anyways. You're old. I can kick your ass now. I don't know. I've been drinking beer all night. That's just my thought on it.
Hey, there's a lot of amazing artists that are tattooing. So I think, I mean, personally, I do consider them artists on par with painters and everybody else. I mean,
that's good to hear.
That's given in my mind, but
I don't know that it is in most. I think that there are artists that are considered upper echelon, and so definitely when I go to the Portrait Society of America, they know people like Alex DePasse or Nico Hurtado, the high end portrait tattooers, because they're portrait artists and these are portrait artists on skin. But I think whenever fine artists think about tattooing in general, they don't see it on par with what they do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just have a chip on my shoulder.
Well, it's time for you to submit, a body into a juried show, a fine art show.
I should.
Let's do it.
Well, are you going to do one too?
Well, no. I mean, I'll help you apply to one.
Will you help me paint it so it's good?
I'll give you some thoughts on your design. How about that?
Uh-huh.
And I'll come and watch if it's a really hot girl. And
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. It will be. She's going to be smoking. I would like, since we're coming up on the end of the show, I would like for you guys to chime in on it. Last time I said that, we got like 20,000 comments, and I've only responded to 5 of them. But I do want you guys to chime in on this one. First off, I'd like to know if you think I'm completely off base, and I'm open to that. I've got thick skin. Don't say my machine looks like a dildo, though, asshole. Other than that, if you have something productive to say, start it with all due respect. I like that. With all due respect. Oh, did he? He started with all due respect?
At the bottom of the comment, he called it your machine a dildo.
No, there's a new one. There's been at least 3 dildo comments. This next one started his thing with nice dildo.
Maybe that's what he uses for a dildo.
He's fairly new.
Well,
Every machine that he doesn't put a cartridge in.
are there 19,997 that are like praising everything and
Yeah, and for the most part, it's overwhelmingly positive. And you know what's funny about it is that it's only the most it's always the videos with the most views that get the most attention that way. We did a podcast episode on why you should not tattoo from home and get an apprenticeship, right? And there was this Facebook group about self-taught tattooers that were trying to help each other out. And we shot it down. We're like, hey, this is the blind leading the blind. Like, find someone that knows what they're doing. Don't try to help each other.
Yeah.
And that episode got a lot of negative feedback. And then, episodes...
It was discussion based.
It was discussion based feedback.
Negative feedback.
That's true. It wasn't no one was mean on that one. But some of these technique episodes, people are just mean. But...
Okay.
Go ahead.
What about like a national database of tattoo mentors that people coming up can go and search and find someone in their area that they can work with?
That sounds complex, but that would be
Well,
awesome.
it's just a list.
Once these
Yeah.
people start giving us money.
Yeah. What?
People who
definitely.
are putting themselves out there and want to be mentors to up and coming artists.
Yeah.
I think
Want to grow their shops, want to improve tattooing or whatever. Yeah. I think that's probably something that could happen. And even that, we're in a point now where you don't have to be in the city or state or town with the person. I feel like that with all of we were talking about augmented reality earlier, all the virtual, like we're getting to the point where literally you'll be able to sit around Thanksgiving dinner with your family from all different parts of the world and never eat the same meal and never know that the person's not sitting right next to you. That's coming, and it's not far away. It's not far away. This is
you could
close.
just push a button and leave the table. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Just disappear. Like, screw you, Grandma.
Yeah, right. Yeah, mute them, or the conversation goes to politics. You can just go click.
Just click. I'm out. But let me finish what I was going to say real quick. I would like for you guys to chime in. Let us know, first off, if we're completely off base. Second, if you started watching this show due to one of these, one of those technique episodes where you were trying to solve a specific problem, and you watched the video and you realized, wow, this is a bigger problem than I thought it was, or I need more education, or I should step back. I'd love to hear from someone that agrees with what I'm saying, because I know you guys are out there because you've commented before, and I just haven't saved or kept up with any of the comments. But I want to prove my point because I think it's valid. I think that we've solved really specific problems for people, and at the same time open their minds up to the idea that, wow, that wasn't the only problem that I have. Maybe I should put the tattoo machine down and work on life drawing. Or maybe I should really seek out that apprenticeship. Or, maybe I should find a way to pick up and move out of Podunk, Tennessee, and to someplace else. If you've been inspired to do any of that through the show, I'd love to know that too, because it makes me feel better, and we can throw it in the face of people who call my machine a dildo. Dick.
That is really
I don't
getting
know.
under your skin.
It doesn't really, but I just felt like I should. I feel like I should throw it out there. All right, that's it. Was this
this person apparently has dildos on the brain.
I think he does. I think he does.
He's obsessed.
Yeah. I try to be professional and try to be nice, but I'm human too, I guess. Thank you guys. I'm sorry if that episode was just a huge rant, and I'm sorry if I just talked all the time and you didn't get to say anything.
I think these are important topics, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Keep up
and
with
who
us
else is talking
somewhere.
about them, really?
I don't know who else is talking about them.
Rotaries not being
Nope.
dildos.
Nobody's what? Say it again.
Nobody's talking about rotaries
Not being dildos. Yeah, that's true.
It's a tattoo machine.
Yep. That's true. We're the only ones.
Don't put it in your butt.
Don't put
It didn't work.
don't
Don't
put the
put a
Cheyenne
tattoo
pin
needle
in your
in-
butt.
Yeah, that's not
Nothing
good.
else from tonight's
All right.
episode. Don't put your rotary.
Don't put your rotary in your butt.
Especially if it has a cartridge. In it.
And if it's
That's
plugged
bad.
in, definitely don't put it in your butt. All right.
Yeah, if we
The
come
more-
to any advice on this
The more you know.
episode, just don't do that.
All right, everybody. Sorry for, rambling and bitching for 30 minutes. Let's go eat some tacos.
All right,
drink some
tacos.
beers. Facebook, Instagram. I am at Plug Ugly Art. He is at Adam Shaw Art. At Tattoo Improvement. Scott Doney runs that. And we just show work from people who have been on the show. Facebook is, I don't know what it is, at Tattoo Improvement or Fireside Tats. And go to tattooimprovement.com. Sign up for our mailing list, as I said to start the show. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks
sir.
for agreeing with everything that I said.
I agree with that.
Good night.